Hi everyone, my name is Ramsha, and today I like to grab your attention to talk about exotic birds and where to find them. This list has been compiled by me and my partner Sashini, and it includes a comprehensive but really cool book about exotic birds and their various characteristics. So before we dive into the list, the first thing I'd like to talk about is what are exotic birds. So, exotic birds are usually a rare species of birds that are only found in specific parts of the world. So, if we're in Canada, then any birds that are non-native to North America or Canada would be considered exotic in Canada. This presentation will talk about what these birds look like, where they're found, what they eat, and some other just cool fun facts. So, first up, we have the lovebird. So, the lovebird is a small species of parrots, and as the name suggests, males and females spend a lot of time to get together and show each other loads of affection, which is how these species of birds have been named the lovebird. A cool characteristic of the lovebirds is that they're very colorful. They usually tend to be green, have shades of yellow, orange, and red around the face area with blue tail feathers. However, as you can see from the picture on the left, these birds actually come in a variety of colors, which includes yellow, blue, have shades of gray and black. So a cool feature of these birds is that they have lots of varieties, and they tend to mate between different colors, which comes up with even more cool patterns and colors in the species. So these birds actually originate from Africa, but they've been domesticated in North America, Asia, and Europe. And in these countries, they tend to be kept as pets. In terms of dietary habits, they just tend to eat small insects and fruits. This brings us to our second bird. So the second bird that we'll talk about today is the Hornscreamer. And these birds are actually considered the unicorns of the bird world. But a fun fact is that their horns are actually not used for defense or fighting purposes, but rather are just used for physical display. As you can see in the photo on the bottom left corner, these birds have their horns protruding out of the top of their forehead, and that's why they're called Hornscreamer. Another cool thing about their name is that the second part of their name refers to their loud call, which sounds somewhat like mukuka, and that's how the name Hornscreamer has been given to these species of birds. So, in terms of their habitat, these birds are usually found in South America, near Colombia, and Ecuador. And despite their aggressive names, these birds are actually quite friendly, and they are herbivores that tend to live near ponds and wetlands. This is also one of the reasons why these birds are actually considered far relatives of geese and ducks, so other species of birds that also live near bodies of water. The third bird that we'll talk about today is the Bali Bird of Paradise, and this is one of the more commonly known birds, mostly because of its beautiful, long, and colorful tail feathers. The Bali Bird of Paradise is found on the islands of New Guinea, and these birds usually tend to eat fruits, berries, seeds, insects, even small reptiles and amphibians like frogs and other small species of creatures. So they're actually omnivores. A cool feature about these birds is that they're really hard to find, and tourists actually struggle finding these birds and taking pictures of them because they're actually quite rare. So in terms of breeding and mating, Another cool feature about these birds is that the male species actually dance on trees during breeding season in order to attract females, and they tend to use their colorful long feathers in order to come up with these cool, intricate dances that will attract females. And in terms of dichotomy between males and females, males on average tend to be 17 inches in length, while females only tend to be 14 inches. So there's a bit of a difference in terms of the size of the birds. This brings us to our next species of birds, called the royal flycatcher. So the royal flycatcher, as you can see from the photos, is known for its magnificent crown that sits at the top of its head. And once again, this gives this bird the name royal because the crown gives it a magnificent royal look. Because males tend to have bright red, vibrant crowns, while females actually tend to have black crowns with deep blue edges. In terms of courtship, males spread their crown for courtship ceremonies, and they also fight other males to compete to get the attention of females. So these birds actually put in a lot of effort during mating season in order to catch attention from females. In terms of their habitat, these birds are naturally found in the Amazon basin and on the Caribbean coast of Colombia, as well as Pacific coast of Ecuador. So usually around the South American peninsula, and therefore you can imagine they tend to prefer tropical/warm climates. The next species of birds that we'll talk about is the splendid fairy wren. So another species of colorful and beautiful bird, and this is actually a common songbird, so it means that its call sounds very melodious and it makes a very rhythmic sound. And in terms of the habitat, the splendid fairy wren is actually located near New Guinea and Australia, and these birds actually tend to be quite versatile in terms of the terrain that they're found in. So you may find them in mountains, rainforests, plains, deserts, and all sorts of different areas with different climates and different environmental features. So in terms of the physical characteristics of these birds, they tend to be found in shades of blue. Their body tends to be like a deep blue with shades of light blue and black near its face, and also shades of black near its tail feathers. So once again, they have these really cool, colorful features, much like many of the other birds that are mentioned in this species list. Dietary habits of these birds are semi-omnivorous, semi-carnivorous, because they actually tend to eat smaller creatures like ants, grasshoppers, crickets, spiders, and usually other small insects and bugs. In terms of a fun fact about these birds is that these birds actually form monogamous relationships. So if a male finds a female that they like, then once they have kids or once they give birth to kids, the males will tend to stay with the female for a very long time. So that's a really cool feature. And finally, this brings us to our last bird, the Atlantic puffin. So despite what these birds look like, these birds are actually not penguins. They're actually a species of parrots found near the Atlantic Ocean. And they're the only species of birds found near the Atlantic. So in terms of countries, you may find them near areas of Greenland, Norway, the British Isles, Iceland, even parts of the United States, and some other parts of the North Atlantic. So as you can imagine from the climate that in these countries, these birds actually tend to prefer really cold climates. They do have a feature that is somewhat similar to penguins, which is they tend to rest on waves and return to land in the spring for breeding, which is quite similar to penguins found in the Arctic, which is they tend to be on water for the most part of their life, but they do come on land around breeding season. Lastly, a fun fact about these birds is that they are actually quite fast and can travel up to speeds of 88.5 kilometers per hour, which is quite an advantage for these birds because they're small in size, so their speed actually allows them to escape from predators. That brings us to the conclusion of our presentation. I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope it was very informative. Thank you so much for listening to us. Bye-bye.